All right. Hello and welcome to the third session of the Back to Basic series, a virtual instrumental hangout series by the Band Lab, where we revisit many of the fundamentals of your playing and debunk some myths. Today on our panel, we have two amazing young brass players who has performed with the Malaysia Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, and both of whom have been subs in the Malaysia Philharmonic Orchestra as well. You can find out more about them through the link in the comment section below. So just before we start this session, the whole session is divided into two parts. The first is where we discuss the main topics, as you can see in the comment section below, and that will be 40 to 50 minutes. And make sure you send all your questions in at the same time so that we can answer them on the spot. And then we'll give you a short summary of what we've discussed in the main topics, and then we'll have an FAQ session where you can ask even more questions and have those doubts clarified. All right, so without further ado, let's get this session started. I think let's start with the most basic issue, posture. So probably we start with you first, Kenny. What is the ideal posture for a trumpet player?
Ideal posture. I would say generally what I've been seeing in a lot of band kits, right? They are all playing in a very downward position where they hold everything. They play to the ground. That's what I would say. So every time I will just walk towards them and then say, so who are you playing to? Are you playing to the ground, to the floor, to the ends, or what? And because usually I will encourage them to bring it up and sit straight, because it helps with the breathing and the airflow, everything. But if they don't, we have certain exceptional cases where their mouth and their lips, their teeth structures are quite different from like the other people. So there's a special cases, but usually try to sit up right and then play straight. Yeah.
What is
so
the
keep
usual
the airflow?
Sorry, just what's the usual angle of like a trumpet? Is it usually slightly downward? It's not like perfectly.
It's not perfectly 90-degree, but it depends whether how your teeth grow. Because if let's say he has like this guy has the upper jaw slightly outwards, so naturally will incline like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of our viewers are probably from marching bands as well, and they usually ask to hold the trumpet at a higher than 90 angle degree sometimes. So
yeah.
What is the best way to do that? Do you lean slightly backward as well, or?
I would suggest for more comfortable way, right? You can lean slightly backwards, but not compromising the teeth structure because it might hurt yourself. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. About Eric, I think there's more complications as to how to hold a French horn.
Yeah, as you say, it's more complicated. I think it's complicated in terms that holding the horn itself naturally, by itself, it's already unnatural. You know, when you hold it, you kind of have one shoulder ahead of the other. So with that in mind, we want to try to be as natural as possible. You know, we try to eliminate any unnecessary, tilts, this and that. So to be honest, of course, they say upper body straight, a straight spine as much as possible. But for me, I think it's the most natural position is the best. Yeah. So I will always like to think that rather than us making our bodies fit into the instrument, think of like, okay, I'm just going to stand straight, eye level straight, and I'm going to bring the instrument to myself. Okay, so for instance, I have an instrument here. I'm just going to sit straight and as natural as like that. You see, I didn't move my head at all. Just like that. For me, that's the best posture.
All right. What about the right hand? How would you quick cupping? I don't know. Like, what should be the correct way of putting your right hand in?
Okay. So for the right hand there are many. We call it the right hand position. There are many positions out there. For me, the one that works the most is when you do like this. Okay, as simple as that. This is the front veil. Okay, but not too tight. Not like too tight. Just relax. And then this is what you mean by the cup. Okay, this is the natural cup you have here. So I don't know if you can see. I usually put it at the top side.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like my knuckles here. They're kind of like touching the top side of the bell. Okay. Why I think this is the this is the best for me lah, is because it's very flexible. You can you see that?
Yeah.
You can open and close really easily. So it's flexible in terms of when you open, of course, the sound is more open, it's sharper. When you close, it's stopped, half stop, or a flatter intonation. So, and it, for me, it holds the horn in a very natural way. At the same time, you can still move your hands around. Yeah.
I've got one question that, I think usually a lot of starting out players do face. They tend to rest the bell on their lap. Which, is that something that you recommend, or?
I, of course, for me, I think, how do I say, there's use to everything that we do. So when you need to understand that when you rest the bell on your leg, okay, part of the vibration will absorb into your hands, into your leg, that kind of thing. So not all of your sound, not most of your sound will actually project as well out there to the audience. So at times when we need to project, right, there's like a solo, a soli, it's best that you lift it off. But I wouldn't say that resting it down is completely no-no. Sometimes when you have to, for instance, in some acoustical situations where you really need to play really soft, maybe sometimes resting it on the leg, absorbing that vibration might help you play softer.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah. All right, so we've got our instrument posture correct. The next topic that we can talk about is actually breathing and air support. As wind players, I think that's one of the most important thing, being able to control the airflow through the instrument. So, you guys want to talk a bit about air intake and exhale? There's one tip that I learned. I can't remember from where. There's one of the one of the teachers said that it's just thinking it as a one cycle thing. So it's just saying the word how to. It's just I don't know if that works, because I think a lot of band players, they tend to breathe in and then stop there and then release, which isn't a good, which gives a bit of tension. So maybe Kenny, you want to start with your experience in teaching breathing?
Usually how I start with teaching breathing to a band kids, right? So usually I will ask them they have to experience the moment where they really suck in the air naturally. Yeah. So you can try. You breathe out every air you have in whatever body parts you have. And then you open your mouth, and then you can feel the air really suck in like naturally.
Cool.
Yeah, and then you can feel the expansion of your body. So that's the first part that because when you explain to the new band kid about breathing, they will be like, "Oh, I just breathe through the nose will do," because everything is still air. Yeah, it makes sense, but then we cannot breathe through lungs or nose to play a wind instrument.
Yeah.
So I will let them experience the suction first, and then I will go into breathing gym, like 4 in, 4 out, 3 in, 3 out, something like that. And then 4 in, hold 4, and then out 4, and then something subsequently.
All right. Would you say that like maybe French horn and trumpet, do you probably take in and use the same amount of air, or probably different?
Eric, I think every inch. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Eric, say first.
Sorry.
I have no idea because I've never really played the trumpet before, so I can't. Yeah.
I mean, I teach bands, so I would say it's correct that the volume of air you take in is different. It's vary from what instrument you play.
Yeah.
Because imagine you are playing a piccolo or a flute, you cannot take in that much air as a tuba.
Yeah, definitely not.
But you have to know how much air you need to consume and breathe out to make your instrument vibrate and resonate. That's it.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So, but for I as just thinking like from a point of view of a band director, like when for trumpets, right? Do they use a lot of air through the instrument? How much air do they actually use through the instrument? I know it's compared to tuba, probably less, but yeah, what kind of challenges do you trumpeters like face?
I wouldn't say like how much air. I would say how sufficient you take in and how sufficient you use the air. Because I can take in a lot of air, but I breathe out like a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but I can still breathe in a bit, and then I can still play very loud. It depends how fast and how efficient you use the air.
All right. And I've also got another question for Eric. Then like how starting up students for French horn, because the bell is always facing like backwards, right? Or towards the side. So it's hard for them to project. Has that got anything to do with, air?
Okay. I totally agree with Kenny about the use of air. In my experience, a lot of times to project, right? It's not really like necessarily like you have to play like in terms of volume like really loud. Sometimes you can use air to manipulate the sound. So a lot of times when we want to, especially for horns, right, when we want to project more, we tend to make our sound a little bit brighter, I would say. Yeah. So by change, this is also with the air, but also with, of course, your embouchure, the way your oral cavity is shaped and all those. So I would say it's more of that. It's not just the air. But in terms of projecting, I would say play brighter.
Play brighter. Okay, so we'll talk about tone in a bit. Now let's move on to mouthpiece positioning. So in terms of trumpet playing, how would you place your mouthpiece on the lips?
Okay, let me make a disclaimer first. It's very subjective for everyone. Okay, but for myself, right, my position is that I use more of the upper lips and then less of the lower lips.
Interesting.
I place it, but when I use it, there's more pressure in the lower lips than upper lips.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense that we need to use the upper lip to vibrate, but we cannot press the upper lip. So we have to press the lower lip to reduce the pressure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you ever met someone who it's not necessarily in the center, like off center?
Yeah, it links back to what I've mentioned before, the teeth structure. Because if let's say he's not even in the center, if you ask then naturally his mouthpiece position has to be a bit slanted, like maybe to the right or left. But as long as it sounds good and he is comfortable with it, then it's fine.
Yeah, I think this is a really good note for many educators out there who's saying, it has to be in the middle exactly. It's not true. You got to find the most comfortable position and the best sound that you can get from that, I think. Yeah, what about the French horn? I think it's slightly different generally.
For the French horn, I was taught that we gotta have 2/3 of space for the upper lip and 1/3 space for the lower lip. I think this links back to what Kenny said, which is you need more space for the upper lip to vibrate freely. The lower lip, we would treat it more as an anchor, to really let you slot into the notes and all those things. So, and also the angle is quite important as well. Yeah. So for me, how I was taught to find the most natural angle in terms of, that the most natural angle is that just put your teeth together at the most natural position and do it like this. So, and slowly take it out. This should be your most natural position. So like what Kenny said, it really links back to how your teeth is shaped. Everyone has different. Personally, I'm a person that doesn't play in the center. Yeah, honestly speaking, yeah. One of this teeth, it's slightly forward, so I'm playing slightly here. Yeah, that kind of thing. But it still works. A lot of people, they debate saying that it's better to be in the middle because in the long run, when you plan to take this professionally until a very old age, right, our muscles tend to degenerate. It gets weaker. And that's where it comes to the point that you would say, like, I want to make sure that both sides of the muscle is efficiently at this like equally doing the job together, rather than portray if only this side is doing the job. Because when we get older, when we get weaker, right, this side will get weaker also. So you get what I mean? It's better to have, that's the debate also. So I wouldn't say that's right or wrong. It really depends on what fits you.
Yeah. All right. Good point. Just in relation to that, there's another common question that people usually ask also. What if you have braces? Does it, because we're talking about teeth structure, right? So do braces actually change? Because it does shift your teeth over time, and your braces have like, So how would you? What kind of advice would you guys give with that? Yeah, maybe Kenny, you want to talk about that?
I did face a bit, like a few cases where my juniors and my friends, they have braces on, but there's a good time where you can prove to yourself whether you are using a lot of pressure to the mouthpiece. Because you can still remain the position you have. Yeah, as you said, it might shift across the time. But when you first started, you can maintain the position you have, but reduce the pressure. Yeah, you have to, unless you don't want to play like trumpet anymore, then there's another case.
All right. Do you agree with that, Eric, or something else to add?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I was also read this somewhere that playing on a bigger mouthpiece might help also, because I do agree with the pressure thing, but sometimes a little bit pressure it's necessary actually to slot into notes and all those. But I've read it somewhere that's saying that if the mouthpiece is right where the rim is just right at where the braces fit, then it's a lot harder. That's why they would recommend, if someone with braces, to get a slightly larger mouthpiece so it kind of goes over it. It doesn't directly press onto it. Yeah.
Okay. It's really interesting. All right, so we have our mouthpiece ready. We know how to breathe now. Say if we're going to start on our first note, what kind of sound should we be looking out for? Like a healthy tone, It's like for a beginning player maybe. So, like when what should a senior student be like? Oh, that's a good sound. Let's do that again. Yeah. So maybe for trumpet, what would you advise them?
I would say for the seniors to like open up YouTube, find a recording of a trumpet playing, and then tell them like those really good like Gabor Takovi, Sergei Nakarakov, because I think the sound concept is very important when they first started, because a lot of band students, let's say a juniors, like a freshman, he came in and then the first sound that he heard is his senior, but I am not sure whether the senior is very good. Yeah. So if the senior is very good, then it's fine. But it's not. If it is not, then it will be so they have a very bad sound concept in mind. And it's very hard to change, I would say. And then when they know what should a good sound be like, and then ask them to play a few, like maybe a comfortable, for us is our G, just as relaxed as possible, and then just keep developing from there. Because from the first note, you can see once they have, I did this experiment before where they listen and I have another batch of students that they don't listen to the recording. It comes out different type of tones, I would say. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about Eric? Do you think is it the same for you as well?
Yeah, I do agree with Kenny. It's very important to have the ideal sound that you want, and of course, the ideal sound in your head first before you actually play it out. Of course, a lot of times we may not achieve the exact sound, but it really, over time, if we listen to really good sounds, whether it be on recordings, whether it be in live, it will definitely help with the sound, the interpretation of the sound. Yeah, and I would say that a good healthy sound, it's generally more open, more relaxed. I heard a lot of French horn students, they tend to have a very clamped, a very close, like kind of sound, a very tense sound.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with Kenny. Yeah, listening to recordings.
Yeah, I just want to add on something.
Sure.
So I've been doing this for like a few years, like even until now. So before even I went to school or to practice room to play my first note, I already have my earphones while I'm on bus, everything. And then when I reach the practice room, I will try to find a short excerpt, like let's say pictures, dun dun dun. I just listen to, let's say, Philip Smith, playing the first three notes, and then I keep repeating the first three notes until I can achieve somewhat that three notes similar to his sound. And then I will start doing my usual warm up routine, everything. Yeah, because it's kind of like brightens up your day when you have something to like excitement to go for. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, so this is like the third session that we've done for Back to Basics. And every tutor said, every panelist said the same thing about tone. It's having really a concept and an idea of how it can sound like. But I think one of the ways to think about is like, because we're also playing, like what Eric said, having an open sound, because we're playing, a Western instrument. And that is their idea of having, like an opera, like imagine you singing like an opera singer, a really open and wide sound. And having just a really, I think generally a healthy environment of like sounds. Like imagine if you're in a music school and you hear someone playing like really good sound every day, naturally you will be able to build into that sound. But if your band doesn't have a good foundation to start with, and that is the kind of sound that you will eventually emulate, because that's what's happening around you every day. Yeah. So yeah, good tip, listen to more recordings and find the kind of sound that you want.
I mean, for band kids, if they have like, oh, I don't like orchestra, I don't like this, I don't like that, it's fine. They can just Google like or YouTube search Tokyo Kose. Let's say for trumpet, you can just listen for Star Wars or even Festive Overture. The first our F, you can practice it like for a few times already. I would say so. Yeah.
Go Google Kenny. Go Google Kenny.
Yeah. It's for so okay. So in terms of like how I say, so in terms of like a good, because okay, I've heard very different like tones for French horn in bands. Okay, it depends on the band director as well, right? So whether they want like a darker sound, a brighter sound. Okay, in your opinion, what is a good French horn sound in a band? So like what kind of band would you recommend for students to listen up to?
I would recommend listening to, of course, the infamous Berlin Philharmonic horn section. There are many others also, like the London Symphony and all this. But about you saying that bright or dark, to be honest, I would say that there's also a debate whether like, oh, is it better to have a bright sound or a dark sound? But to be honest, for me, I think it's the best to have all, to be able to do all. It's more of a color palette. Sound is so subjective. Some people might think this is bright. Some people might think the same thing but dark. So it's very subjective, but I would say that we've tried to explore more sounds. Of course, the fundamental is to have a more open sound, but even with an open sound, you can have different tone colors. And it's like a painter having different colors on your board, and then you can be able to paint whatever color that you want at the certain musical moment when you want it. So, I would say sometimes you gotta, in a way, experiment, but sometimes you gotta accept what kind of sound that it's producing out, and don't straight away say, oh, this is a bad sound, but try to think of in a way that, hey, I'm making this sound. What am I doing to my lips? What am I doing inside my mouth? This kind of thing. Okay, this one I'm going to put as sound A, and I'm going to try a different sound. Then you have a bigger, wider palette. Yeah.
That's really good advice, for students to try out different sounds and see what they can do with it. All right, awesome. All right, let's move on to the next main topic today, which is, I think, a lot of students are actually interested about, range. So one of the most common question is, how do I play in the high and low registers comfortably? And I think that probably applies to both trumpet and French horn. Actually, all brass instruments generally. Yeah. So Kenny, do you want to start with that?
I think maybe Eric start first.
Oh, Eric. Okay.
How to play? How to be good at playing high and low, right? Different people, they have. Of course, we all have a certain range that we are more naturally comfortable with. Some people, they can start very high, but they can't go really low.
Yeah.
Some people the opposite. Yeah. So I would say it depends, but I would say start at where you are comfortable first and expand both ways, slowly, step by step. Yeah. I've come across with this study. There's a series of videos on YouTube about this horn player. I think they scan her mouth with MRI or something like that to see the movement of the tongue.
Oh, Sarah Willis. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah Willis. Yeah. There's a bunch of other people that did the same thing as well. It's very, very similar. So when you go high, you usually tend to have a smaller, I would say smaller vowel, because that's where your tongue raises, more of a E kind of vowel. And when you go low, it's more of a O or ah kind of more open vowel. Yeah. So that's something that students can look into, but beware also not to do it too much, because sometimes I've tried it myself. Sometimes if you think too much of different vowels and the tongue position, especially students, they will tend to forget to use the air. All of this must be done with the air. Yeah. So my advice would be slowly from your natural position, let's say maybe in the middle range, step by step, chromatic scales, I would say legato, really get a feeling, get used to how the air is going when going up and when going low. Yeah.
What about for trumpet, Kenny?
I agree with what Eric say. Like you're adding your range a bit by a bit. So for example, you can do a B flat major scale. Let's say a C major on trumpet, okay? And then next day, you can do a C sharp major. Like that, you can improve your major scales as well. And then following day, you can do D major and so forth and so forth. And then until that point, maybe you can reach until G and you cannot hit G sharp already. That's your maximum for maybe that particular period. That's where you have to find the point where you have to develop from G to G sharp, but not from G to C. Leap. It's a huge leap. And then do more lip flexibility. But with what Eric said is that when you do lip flex exercise, right, you have to keep your airflow. Yeah. So think of like how you whistle. When you whistle, your air has to go through as well. Yeah, sorry, I can't whistle, but that's a concept. Yeah, and another advice for the kids are that when they look at lip flexibility, usually it's from C, G, so they tend to look it at a very big lip, like C to G is very high, it's very far apart. So I will ask them to imagine this is C, their G is usually here. Yeah. But I would say think of your G is here.
Okay.
Yep.
So sorry, I'm a bit of like a mental person. I will try to imagine a lot before I play. So if I think there's a very huge leap, right, I will make much more effort to tense up myself, everything, use less air to hit the G. But I think there's only a small gap, like let's say you whistle da da da, it's just like that, and then G to C is even smaller. When you go higher, think even smaller gap. So it narrows up your target, like your hit point. Instead of like, G to C is like that already. Imagine if you want to go C to C, it will be. Yeah.
I think a lot of the times it's also like they're not able to do it because they really think too much in terms of like it's really just another set of notes to play, from that. And all right. On the same issue, when people are practicing like interval exercises and usually playing in the higher range, they have a common question, common problem that they face is that they get fatigued really quickly.
Normal.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for them to build on their stamina?
Rest.
Oh, that's a really good point actually. So okay.
So usually I would say when they are doing exercises, like let's say lip flex, if you do, my teacher always told me like that if you practice for 1 hour, you must rest for 1 hour. You practice for 2 hours, you must rest for 2 hours. Because like it's like an athlete doing sports. They won't run like 100, like 1 km straight away. They start with 100 meter first, and then they rest 150, and then slowly build up their stamina towards the 1 kilometer run. So I think taking rest is very important because especially we are brass player, we use a lot of like our lips, our facial muscle. For some person, they will be like, oh, I can hit this high C like within this 1 hour. Why not? Why I want to stop it? I should keep on going for it. Go for high D or high E. It's a very wrong concept, I would say, because by the time when you are tired, right, you can't hit a high D or high E. You are literally try to decrease, like demoralizing yourself, like oh no, I can't do it anymore. Then what's the purpose of doing it?
Yeah, that's true. But what about Frenchon? Is it the same case as well? Do you get fatigued quite easily or less?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We I think generally the higher brass players get fatigued quite easily. I do agree with Kenny. Rest is very important. But it's also students should really accept the fact that this is also a piece of muscle. Just like any sports, any exercises. If you keep working the muscle, it gets tired. Then you just have to give it rest. I've heard people saying that putting ice, this and that, putting some kind of ointment on it. Even some to the extent taking medication.
Wow.
Personally, I would still think rest is the best medication. Yeah, rest is the best medication.
I think especially for band kids, right? They have a lot of free time. I would say generally band kids, they don't practice every day for 4 hours. So 1 or 2 hours, and then you go back and then rest, and then next day you continue for 2 hours. I think it's quite sufficient for them. Yeah,
that's true.
I would just like to add about stamina, right? Stamina, it will slowly build time by time. I think many of us, we should be really patient about it rather than, I can't hit the high note already, and I'm just going to keep trying and trying. Once we hit a point that fatigue starts coming in, everything's becoming unnatural, we should really stop and rest. Is because or else if you keep trying, a lot of times, like what Kenny said, it's quite demotivating, but also you're practicing a lot of bad habits. You're practicing a lot of bad habits also. A lot of times we just have to give it rest. You can't expect chappy lips to be able to perform as well as a fresh lips, You just have to give it that. This is a very important thing for students to think also.
What if there are times where, like, in a band practice or like band camp or like, long orchestra, probably not for orchestras, but like I know band they do take 3-4 days intense practice, and brass players do get fatigued quite after quite some time. Should they like raise this issue up to the band director, or just sit there and continue playing? Does it make sense? Yeah,
it makes sense. For me, well, it really depends on the program as well. But sorry, how many hours were you talking about?
So like usually, if say, I know there are band camps that go from like 9 to 9, or sometimes even 7 to 9. As in, obviously they do like many different things. Like they do warm-ups, like physical warm-ups, and then sectionals, and then full band. But then by the time they do a combined like 2D session, they're already like half dead. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I understand. 9 to 9 is it's really intensive.
Yeah.
I must say. But sometimes we just have to do it, Sometimes even I have rehearsals from 10 to 10, and we just have to do it. So my advice would be, a lot of times you don't actually have to put in as much effort into it. A lot of times you can actually dial it down a bit, For instance, let's say rehearsing a piece. Many moments we know that for French horns, we have mainly two roles. One is melodic, that means being solo and all those. The other one is more of accompaniment, right? So of course, for accompaniment, that's the time for you to dial it down. And usually we have four parts. Usually I've seen bands, they might have more than 4 horn players. It's very, very important for students to be smart, no matter what level you are, be it professionals or beginners. It's important to be smart about dividing parts, because when you get fatigued, it's important for you to rest, but sometimes the music has to go on. That's where someone else has to fill in this and that. So dividing the parts up and really knowing when to actually give it in and when to actually, I'm just gonna take it easy, I'm just gonna chill.
Can you agree with that?
Yeah, I think for trumpet is all, especially in band, trumpet is always the melody. So I've been into those cases where like YST, we have a wind band program last semester or few semester ago, but we rehearse at night from 7 to 10, but obviously in the daytime we still have our normal orchestra rehearsal, our recital rehearsal, chamber. So I think there's a point where you have to know what is a good section, because a good section mate can help a lot. Like for example, if let's say we are doing like Superman, okay, and you are already so let's say I'm the principal trumpet and I have let's say down there you have five more trumpets, and you have to look at their parts first, and then you have to communicate with them like beforehand, before the rehearsal start. You can tell them like, okay, so today I'm not really in a very good not say good mood, but not in a very good position of playing everything through. So let them know what's your difficulty, and then tell them, so maybe this accompaniment part, like let's say long tones, I won't play, but you have to cover my part for me. That's one way. Second way is that look at unison part, and then take turns. You have to take turns. Like let's say you play one phrase and then he play one phrase, but you first have to develop a very good section itself. That's why a lot of people in band, they think like, I play third trumpet means I'm not good, but often third trumpet is we need a very good players on every part, especially the third trumpet, because he has to provide support to the first, so that when he's fatigued or everything, he can still hear the lower octave supporting, then he can still play comfortably on top. But if you have a very junior kind of third trumpet, usually we play octave below, so you can't hear. I'm the kind of person where when I play Beethoven, like those classical stuff, is all octave apart, and my second trumpet is sitting beside me and I can't hear the octave below. I will be very frustrated because I can't hear the supporting voice, and sometimes you really have to come in like PP. Yeah, and you can't tell her, can you play the high G and then play the low G? No.
True.
Yeah. So I think communicating is very important, and I wouldn't say cheat, but you have to help yourself. Because you have to think a long run. When let's say you're fatigued, then you insist I have to take care of my own reputation. I'm a hero. I have to take care of my section. It's fine. But when you do it and you doesn't sound, if you don't play it well, what will your band director do? He will scold you. And that's why I always see this happen, and then I will just walk there and then tell them, okay, this is your own problem already, because you decided to do it this way. Because if you don't play it, when people ask why you don't play it, then you can explain, I'm not feeling well, then he or she is going to play this particular phrase for today only. People can understand. But if you insist on playing it and you can't play it well, then you're creating problem for yourself. You're creating trouble for yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, that's really good advice. I think like having a team that supports. I mean, we've never really thought of that, but I think that could come really in application events as well. All right, let's move on to the next topic about articulation. before we go into the commonly asked questions, do you guys want to talk a bit about how is articulation, being executed on a brass instrument? Kenny, do you want to start with that first?
Okay. I would say when you think about articulation, right, think about your own pronunciation, because when you have your mouthpiece, everything on your mouth, on your lips, you are literally talking to other people through an instrument. So if you play a slur and then you play like very choppy kind, then you have to ask yourself, is it something that I usually will talk? I won't talk. I want to tell you like that. You won't talk like that. So why you play like that? Yeah. And then and articulation is a very simple thing to practice. You can practice while you're walking. You can practice it without your instrument, without tension. So when like a few years ago, I don't even know how to do double tongue. So I use all single tongue all the way. But in certain passages, I really have to develop my own double tongue. So what I do is usually when I'm free, I'm walking to a canteen, to a bus stop. I will usually do taka 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 taka. Okay, it might look silly for the person like around me, but I don't care lah. I just do it because it's a habit. Because when you can't speak it clearly like taka 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 taka, you can't even. I would say you won't be able to tongue it clearly on your instrument.
That's true. Yeah.
And then, triple tongue is the same thing. Tataka, tataka. I want to clarify something that if they are thinking whether to use takata or tataka, it's really up to you. But I would say to maintain the rhythm, I would say use tataka instead of takata, because when you go too fast, takata takata, it might sound like a 2 semiquavers and 1 quiver. Yeah. So everything must practice daily without your instrument. You can do it like when you're walking. Just be aware of your syllables. Some people use tuku tuku tuku. It's fine. Tuku 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 is fine. But you have to know like the range. So let's say it's a lower register, I use taka 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 taka. It's higher register, I use tiki 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 tiki. Yeah, and then the even lower one, I will use tugu 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 tugu. So that's where you can feel your tongue position. Tugu, taka, and tiki is moving backwards and higher and higher.
Yeah, good point. What about for French horn? I know French horn has the tendency to they say go a bit like murky. You know what I mean? So like it's less clear. But do you do the same thing as well? But do you do anything different to make it clearer, or?
In terms of making it clear, it really depends on the acoustic as well. So let me just add something on top of Kenny's first. Sure. That it's very important that with all these exercises, one must keep blowing as well. Without the air, none of this will actually work. So to link it to have a clear articulation, of course, there's a lot of articulations that are like more upfront. Let's say like T, like compared to the do. It's more a T articulation, and a lot of times people would think that making it clear, it's only like the starting of the note, but it's also like the ending of the note. It also depends on the ending. For instance, when you play something fast, if you're gonna say, it's gonna sound very blurred. But if you say, it will help a lot, because horns, right? We tend to be a bit unclear is because, like you said before, the bell is facing backwards. The sound that we hear out there, it's a reflected sound. It's not a really direct sound. So we just gotta accept that fact and really make the effort. For horns, we have to make an extra effort to make articulations a lot clearer. And if you actually sit with a behind the horn section in an orchestra, especially orchestras that play in a really big, boomy acoustic, most of them, they tend to exaggerate more. For instance, staccato, they really exaggerate it to make it clear. Yeah.
Really good tips and like things to think about for especially advanced students and how you can adjust your articulation in different situations. All right, so now we able to play a few notes and we've have a practice session. Now let's talk about warming down. So I know for some instruments they do recommend warming down, but I know not everyone does them. What do you guys think about having just playing a bit like pedal tones and stuff like that? Does it actually help with relaxing your muscles, and what does it do? What kind of benefits does it bring? Kenny, you want to start on that?
Yeah, I personally don't do a lot of warming downs if it's not a very very intense session. Yeah, because it's very personal. Yeah, but doing pedal tones, for me, I wouldn't recommend for a beginner or let's say a band kid, because a lot of time playing trumpet, when you talk about low notes and pedal tones, right, they tend to open their oral cavity too big, and when they want to go high, there's a problem if you are opening your oral cavity is too big. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend pedal tones for them. But if they want to do it, they can do it lah, but at risk lah. They have to manage on themselves. But comfortable like B flat, C, B flat until F sharp. The normal F sharp is okay if you want to warm down. Yeah, but usually I do a lot of before my warm up and after my session. Just that. Yeah.
So even without the instrument, just
yeah.
Is that what you mean? All right. What about for the French horn?
It's this. I would say it's, if not the same, similar to the trumpet as well. Basically, why we do or pedal tones is because in this kind of notes, right, the lips tend to vibrate a lot more free. And what I would recommend is, especially after, like what Kenny said, an intense session where your lips get too tight, it's best not to leave it like there. So to do like this kind of exercises or pedal tones, not only you still allow the air to go through, but you are letting the lips to vibrate at a more comfortable, more natural kind of state, rather than a lot of engaged muscles. So yeah, I would say you don't have to go for horn. Our pedal tones really mean pedal, really pedal. But I wouldn't say it's not necessary that you need to hit like wow really low 2-bar range, no. But something in the middle, comfortable is the key. Comfortable where the air can really flow at its most natural point will do. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Really interesting how warming down can help to calm the muscles and stuff. All right. So just before we put the instrument back into the case, what should we do with our instruments? Kenny, the trumpets.
Wipe your instrument, let the water all out. Like not just the main tunings, like you have to check all the slides. Yeah. Especially the first valve slide. Because usually the band kids will tend to forget the first valve slide. And then when the next session they take it out, right? How come got sound, got water? It makes sense because if they never clear it properly like in the previous session, so they have to take it out and then blow it like upside down like that, instead of like normal. Yeah, and then wipe the instrument, wipe all the fingerprints, everything, and then keep it back.
Okay, so not too complicated. But what about the French horn? Do you have more things to like remove? And
Yeah, removing condensation on the French horn is quite not really complicated, but it's just a bit more steps. But like same as the trumpet, try to remove all the condensation from all sides, not just the main tuning slides. And for double horns, it's even more slides. We have to do it. So for horn, usually we would tip it this way. It depends on different horns. Mine, I tip it this way. And sometimes even after clearing out from all the slides, after taking it out, I would still recommend students to really give it a roll, wiggle the valves to open up, let all the condensation come Yeah, and of course, wiping the instrument is also very important. I'm not sure if students have all. Some students might have the screw bell, or some might have the screw rim. Like unscrew it, give it a good wipe also, because all these screws, right, they tend to collect a lot of dust. And when you screw it on, it will cause a lot of friction. It might damage it. It might cause it to get stuck. These kind of things. Very important to wash your mouthpiece also. Yeah.
Oh, washing mouthpiece.
I think I want to add on something is when they turn the instrument upside down, right? They have to take care of the other part of the instrument.
Yeah.
Where I see a lot of cases where they try to clear the first valve slide, and then they turn the trumpet upside down, and then they forgot to take out the mouthpiece, and then the mouthpiece dropped.
Oh god.
Yeah. So whenever you want to do something with an instrument, right?
Yeah.
You have to take care of the other part where you are not so focused on. So yeah.
I think that's a really good tip. Yeah. Mouthpieces have been dropping quite often in bands as well. Yeah. Guys, do know that mouthpieces don't come cheap as well. So yeah, think about that. All right. So I think this is the end of our main topic session. I'll pop up a summary just right over here for all of you to just read through it, and you can take a screenshot if it helps you. And then we'll come back to answer more questions and frequently asked questions and any questions that you might have in the comment section below. hope that summary helped all of you. Now let's move into the Q&A session. One common question or common practice in a lot of bands is to actually polish their instruments before every performance. I think there's a general consensus that we shouldn't do it as often. We can polish, but not as much. So what are your takes on this, guys? You maybe want to start with Kenny.
First, they have to understand that when you are using silver polish or any kind of polish, right, you're actually removing one layer of your instrument coat art. What I don't know what's that called, tinted layer or coated layer or something.
Lacquer?
Yeah,
Lacquer.
the lacquered layer, yes.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of this. If you want to use silver polish, but you have to be responsible for it. Yeah, okay. But in general, if you wipe up every fingerprints, wipe out your instrument cleanly after every session, it should be fine for every performance, every concert. Because a lot of band kids, they don't take care of their instruments, I would say so. They don't wipe it, they don't even clean the saliva. And then when it comes to performance, concert or marching, the director will be like, oh my God, why your instrument looks so ugly? You go and polish it. Yeah, so so that's the consequence that you have to bear with if you don't do it. But if you really, really that lazy, that you don't like to polish your instrument, I would suggest before the performance or everything, you have to forego 1 or 2 weeks of practice, send your instruments to a proper maintenance shop to do a general cleaning. Usually for me, I will send my trumpet to a repair shop or to do maintenance or general checkup. Like you usually do a health checkup every year. Same for my trumpet as well. Yeah.
What about silver cloth? What do you use to wipe down your instrument? Do you recommend using silver cloth?
When you talk about silver cloth, it contains silver polish as well. So I don't do that, but I just use a normal cloth like you can get from normal cotton cloth. I would say you can get from Giant or Tesco. Those very cheap, that kind, 1 pack got 5 pieces. but it's not those napkin kind, you know. Must be able to absorb water. Okay.
Also like microfiber. It's something.
Yeah.
Right. What for French horns? Is it? Do you guys really polish the horns? No, right?
I think it's the same as the trumpet. So I think most brass instruments is the same also. Like you gotta beware with all these chemicals that you put on. There's also like the silver polish, there's brass polish. There's a lot of things out there. But you have to be careful. Personally, I never really use these kind of chemicals. I use a very simple microfiber cloth, wipe down, especially because I tend to sweat. And from the sweat, right, you don't know what you've been eating. It might be quite acidic and all those, so it might corrode the brass and all those. So I used to have a lacquered horn, which I don't really polish a lot, but now my horn is an unlacquered one. Yeah, it's a raw brass one, which takes more care because there's no protective layer on top of it, you know. So you gotta be really careful, and hence mine is I wouldn't even use any chemicals on it because it's completely raw. It will straight away take off a layer of it, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Just one question: have you guys ever polished your instrument before?
Yeah, I did. Like when I was like first few years.
Okay. Yeah. After that, no more.
When I found out that there's this risk, that I don't do it already.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Because you will see when you do it often, you'll see your the layer gets off quickly as you do it more often. I mean, for the first time you do it, you feel very satisfied because you see, it's very shiny, everything. And then you keep on doing it. That's where you feel you regret lah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to another frequently asked question, which is on tuning. How and when to use the tuning slides when playing? I think this applies more to trumpet rather than French horn. So Kenny, you want to explain, when to use the slides?
For tuning, right, I always go for this triangle concept. So usually we all started high, like when I say high means sharp.
Mm.
Yeah. So whatever, usually trumpet tends to go high, tends to go sharp. So I would suggest aim everything at the bottom of the triangle. I would say this is the center of your, let's say a G. You can go the bottom of G, so you can achieve a very broad and very focused sound and centered sound. And then my tuning slide is very subjective also, because certain people, they move a lot, but my concept is that keep your tuning slide as minimal as possible, because when you pull out, a lot of band directors will say, oh, when you go sharp you pull out. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But when I've seen those people that their slides are that far out, and you imagine we are playing a brass instrument, so the air goes through the length of the instrument. So when you pull out, right, the instrument length itself becomes longer, and it requires more air to compensate it, to resonate with the instrument. So I would say keep it as minimal as possible, because the instrument itself has its own tendency of like going high or going low, something like that. Yeah. So find the right point first, and then when you do play, like let's say you tune a chord, don't move your slides. When you tune a chord, open up your ears, and then try to adjust your airstream, your air volume, everything and stuff, but not using the slides, because in the end you have to move a lot of time if you keep moving around.
Yeah.
And then use more of your first and third valve slides, not the second one, because the second one can't move either. So I would say the common mistake that we tend to forget for band students is that they don't use their third valve slide, or sometimes their third valve slide are stuck. Yeah. So this leads to the maintenance thing as well. When you don't put slide grease on the third valve slide where you have to move it quite often, put valve oil.
Valve oil. Oh, okay.
A bit of valve oil, a bit only, and then so that you can move it like as smooth as you can. And then when you play those fingerings that using the third valve, sit down with a tuner, find where is your center is, where is your tendency is, and then you will know how much is a D going to be out on the third slide, how much is a C sharp going to be on the third slide, how much is the E and A is going to be out for the first valve slide. So what I did was I will get a paper with a tuner and my instrument. After my warm-up session, I will sit down and play C. Is it sharp or in tune? In tune, I will put a tick. And then C sharp, in tune or sharp? Sharp, I will put a up.
Yeah.
And then, so go through all the way a cycle, and then you will know which tendency your notes are into. Yeah.
Very good point. I think that kind of sort of answers the next FAQ, which I think applies for both. Which is how to improve pitching and intonation. I know French horn has been kind of known, has a bad name, for being difficult to play in tune. So maybe you want to provide your insights on how to play, in tune, more in tune maybe on the French horn.
Yeah, sure. On the instrument wise, I wouldn't recommend students to pull in and out during the performance and this and that.
Yeah.
A lot of times we can actually manipulate the intonation, the tuning, with our right hand. So like I said earlier, the more open it is, right, the sharper it goes, and the more closed, but not all the way until it stops. This more closed, it's flatter. There are ways you can change the intonation with your embouchure also, but I don't really recommend that, because especially for students when the embouchure is not really stable yet. Yeah, they're not very used to it yet. Better not to do that. But you can kind of experiment with the hand, which is a lot easier. Yeah. That's for tuning lah. For mispitching, it's quite similar to having that ideal sound in your head. Pitching is also the same. You gotta have that melody in your head first. So I would recommend students, horn players alike, to try to be able to sing that particular, whether is it a melody or is it a accompaniment part, to sing it in your head first, and then it will really help you a lot to get the pitches right and all those.
Yeah.
I think intonation is more about the singing part, because a lot of people don't sing in Malaysia. When you ask a band kid to sing, they were like, I need to sing, and then and then they don't even open up their mouth. That's a problem. I think it happens a lot in Asia, I would say.
Generally, right?
Yeah, it's a problem, but you have to know that when you know how to sing, it's the point where you are aware of your own sound, your own voice, your own pitch.
Yep.
Because if you can't sing the high note, not everyone can sing like Celine Dion or like Pavarotti. Yeah, you don't have to do it. But some people will tell me that, I can't sing the high C for Star Wars. Okay, it's fine, but you have to, at least you know how to hum it or like falsetto. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to sing it like really opera, the high C, that kind. It's not the point of singing that, but if you can sing it that well, it's better. But the concept is that you have to know where the pitch is going to. How far is the pitch going, like between C and G, G to C, something like that. Yeah, a lot of band kids, they have this problem where when you ask them to sing, they sing a different pitch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But they play a different pitch as well. Yeah, and they are not aware of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so the director has to let them know that this is the problem, that you are not playing what you are singing, or you are not singing what you are playing. Yeah.
But I think this kind of ear and oral skills, it really takes time to develop. It's depending on the person. Yeah, we have some who really picks it up really, really fast, but some really take quite some time. And then maybe I feel like sometimes they're not able to sing that note is because it's not in the range that they're comfortable with. So they try to sing it, but then it's not coming out right. And then they're like, embarrassed.
Okay, let's put it this way. When I always tell my students that when they are going for a karaoke session, they will just sing whatever piece that they like. No matter how high it is, they will just scream it out loud, like in a karaoke room. Why you can't just do it in a band room? Yeah. Okay. So the other way is that I will ask them, go and find out the particular phrase of the pop tunes, sing it, and then play it for me.
Okay. Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try that. Okay. The next question, I think it's applicable for both instruments actually. So, what advice do you have for those who are playing solos?
You mean solo like solo piece,
solo
or solo passages?
Both.
Eric,
you want to start first?
Okay, sure. For solo passages in an ensemble piece, I would say for horn, right? At least for me, a lot of times I tend to be a bit nervous, and that's where the tension, air is not really using well, all these things creep in, and then I screw it up, and then, oh no, okay, I cannot do this, and all the demotivation is coming in. That's for my case. So I'm not sure, because there's a lot of things that we can tackle for solos, but in terms of this, I would say that being in the moment is really important. For instance, if you're solo, before it starts, there's something else going on. For instance, like the infamous Tchaikovsky Fifth Symphony, second movement horn solo. There's all this luscious chords from the strings going on. Be in the moment. Be as if like you are one of the strings, as if you are playing the string parts. And when it comes in, right, you are just feeling the moment. You're not thinking, okay, I'm counting. Okay, I'm coming in. That kind of thing. Yeah. So I would say be in the moment will really help not only your nerves, but also how you shape the music.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times, at least for me, I used to think like, oh, solos, I'm just gonna do my part, that's it. I'm in, I'm out, that's it. But it's more to that, you know. It's part of a big book. It's one sentence in a whole big storybook, you know. That sentence has to fit in the storybook. It means before and after, that kind of thing. So that's my advice for solo passages. For playing solo pieces, there's so many things that we can go about that. But I would say sing, really sing. Yeah, how would you sing that certain solo piece and try to make it as if you are singing in your instrument, you know? Yeah, that would be my advice. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Kenny, what about for you?
I mean, for trumpet, it's mostly about solo playing.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of, obviously, no matter how professional you are, you still will feel nervous when you are playing certain solos. Yeah. But the universal advice is that perform more and practice more. Play to people more often than you think. Let's say, for a band situation, you should be able to play. You should try to play with your friends. Like, let's say, okay, maybe you are shy, but you can get your close friends to come and listen to me play this solo and give me some advice. That makes you into a very different situation where you feel a bit of anxiety, and then after that you get more people, play for more people, just randomly chop into any sectional and say, I want to play this for you, listen for me for a while, something like that. And then like what Eric say is that be in the moment. So when it comes to performance, right, there's nothing you can do. It's either you practice or you don't practice, you prepare or you don't prepare. If you prepared well, you shouldn't be scared. But nervous is another thing. Scared is another thing.
I think true. Yeah.
Nervous is normal. It's normal for everyone. Okay, but if you are scared, means you are not prepared.
No.
There's nothing I can do. Really, when it comes to concert or performance, if you are prepared, just go up. And I remember there was one time, I was assigned to play with MPO side by side. My first concert with them, the Snowman. I'm not sure whether Eric, you were there already. I think you were there. Eric.
Yep.
Then there was one rehearsal. There's only one trumpet from MPO. That's me. And then the MPO trumpet, I think we are not joining them yet, but the strings are joining us already. So I have to play every part by myself. And then I was very nervous because that time I was in Form 5, I think. But so I was like jiggling at the back. And then when it comes to my solo, I fucked up for the first time.
Censor.
Okay, sorry.
But did you feel? How did you feel after that? Like,
obviously you feel very embarrassed. But after that, that time was okay. Mr. Kevin Field, he walked over and tell me this. Are you prepared? Like in a very serious way. Then I was like, oh my god, are you judging me? And I said, And yes. Then don't be nervous, just play. Show us what you have on hand. Because and slowly over the years, I can really hear the difference when you are not prepared and you play badly, and you are nervous and you play badly. It's totally a different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You just have to play everything that you have to tell yourself that you have been practicing this for like maybe the past months, and then why don't you do it properly for this time? Or at least do it at your best at this time. You only have this 1 minute to go, and you prepare for 10 hours or 10 months like that just for these short passages. And you screwed it up, and what's the point? Yeah,
that's true. I mean, preparation is really key to this, and developing the confidence.
And then for solo piece, I would say in general, you have to do more research on solo piece when you are playing, because you are not playing with orchestra, you are not playing with like a chamber, you're playing with a pianist, or sometimes only you yourself. So you have the control of what you want, what the direction you want, what the style you want. You have the authority, but you have to first convince yourself. Whenever I played certain piece, right, I will ask, and I recorded it, and then I will ask myself, is it what I want? Is it what I'm looking for? Have I achieved that? If the answer is no, then the next session you have to do it better. Like how do I improve it? Maybe I have to shorten this fermata. Maybe I have to take a breath here. Maybe I have to connect the phrase more, longer phrase. Yeah. And always listen to recordings.
Yeah. I think I just want to add on one thing is another thing that we don't do enough. I think it's recording yourself, like what you said just now, and re-listening to what you just play. Because a lot of the times you don't really hear what you play exactly as an audience would. And so that will really help in terms of reflection. Yeah, that's our tips for you. All right, we have one last question that just came in actually. It's directed towards French horn. Okay, so there's this guy who said, my friend who wants to ask, what French horn mouthpiece would you recommend? And would you recommend using the stock mouthpiece or getting another mouthpiece?
Okay. To be honest, the search for the best mouthpiece, it will never, for me at least, it will never be over. Because over time, things change. Maybe some people, they put on braces, this and that. So for me, of course, I can recommend a few brands that are like good and still quite affordable, like Schmidt, Joseph Clear, Yamaha mouthpieces. These are quite standard mouthpieces. Dennis Wick, I think for trumpet, Bach. Bach also make for horns, which are quite famous as well. But for me, I would say to look for the right mouthpiece, you would, first of all, it has to be comfortable. Yes, the size of it, it's big enough that you can kind of fit both lips inside, this kind of thing. Some people tend to have thicker lips, some people tend to have thinner lips, this kind of thing. And afterwards, just you can experiment with different mouthpieces on the sounds that they make. Yeah, this kind of thing. But my rule is always comfort.
Comfort,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see the person didn't ask specifically about trumpet as well, but what about Kenny? What's your search to find the right mouthpiece?
Okay, my first advice would be you must be able to try the mouthpiece. You cannot just Google and then you ask, Bach 5C versus Bach 3C, and then you decide the mouthpiece. No, it's a definite no. Even there's a lot of brands, or we have some difficulties in reaching out in getting this mouthpiece in Malaysia, but you should try your best to get whatever you can try. You are able to try first. Rather than, I want this brand, but I cannot try, so I ask for Google advice. But imagine it's money.
You're making an investment.
So you have to know that comfortable to you or not is a very important thing. Does it fit with your ideal sound is another thing. Because I would say the important reason that you try it is that when you play it for a few times, right, you can really feel it whether this mouthpiece helps in playing in a longer time or shorter time. When you try certain mouthpiece, you get fatigued easily. That means it's a definite no. Even though it sounds super good for me, because over time you'll sort of like get fatigued easily, and then your stamina is not improving, everything. So you have to be able to try, and then do what you can on your current mouthpiece, because a lot of people, they just want to change because their friends are changing it. I would say if you are feeling comfortable on your current mouthpiece, just stick with it first. And because I agree with what Eric says, that when we go across like the time, right, we are improving ourselves, and at some point we need to change a mouthpiece. But when you are using a mouthpiece for like 1 or 3 months, I don't think you have discovered the potential of the mouthpiece yet.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's what I usually will tell my students that how long you have been using this?
Mhm.
And then if I'm okay, and they are okay, I will take their mouthpiece and try. And then if I'm able to play something like comfortably and nicely, then I will just tell them like, can you sound like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not maybe the mouthpiece doesn't suit them but suit me, but it's a general thing that you have to give yourself and the mouthpiece a chance to be with you. You have to be with the instrument and be with the mouthpiece for maybe half a year, and if it really like makes you struggling a lot, then you change it. But if not, then why you change it?
Yeah, you really get to know the mouthpiece that you're using for a while. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Buck makes a very good mouthpiece. Yamaha also. Yeah.
These are two of the more common ones, right? Bach and Yamaha that you would recommend for band students.
Yeah, but another advice is that don't go if you can't handle the megaton mouthpiece, those very very heavy cup size.
Oh yeah.
Don't do it, because usually they do it is that they see it on videos like James Morrison, whoever is using this to play a very huge jazz piece. They can scream very high. They can scream, but doesn't mean that you can scream.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And heavy cut mouthpiece usually requires more focused embouchure and more stable embouchure for you to handle it. But for band students, I don't think it's a very good choice. Yeah. Just go with the standard and see how you go from there. Yeah.
And then definitely explore, when you have the chance. All right. And so that is actually the end of today's session. Thank you so much, Kenny and Eric, for tuning in. I hope that this session has actually been quite informative and helped you learn more about the trumpet and the French horn. So if you like what we've been doing, please give us a thumbs up and follow us as well as Kenny and Eric. So their social media links will be placed down below as well if you allow them to follow you. And also, just a shout out that Kenny is the founder and director, right, of another music production company. Something like that. It's called the Rondo Production. You can find them on the links below as well. So as we come to an end, let us know in the comments section how we can improve or what other kind of activities you would like to see from us in the future. All right. Finally, make sure that you check out our next session, which will be happening at 8:30 p.m. tonight. We'll be talking about all things low brass. Thank you and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.